We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Ham and Beis in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 75b. On the previous Daf, the Gemara was explaining a pasuk in Yecheskel which talks about the creation of Adam Harishon, and the Gemara is in the middle of giving an alternative explanation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I looked at Chiram, the king of Tzur, who proclaimed himself like a god, and therefore V'kanasti Misa al Adam Harishon, therefore I declared that there would be death for Adam Harishon, that Adam Harishon could not live forever. And the Gemara continues, Mai v'al mikroeho, what does it mean when it says in the pasuk in Yeshaya that those who are invited to it? This is the pasuk in Yeshaya we quoted on the previous Amud that talks about the fact that in the future HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make 7 canopies for the tzaddikim. So at the end of the pasuk it says v'al mikroeho. What does that mean? And the Gemara says, Amar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Lo ki Yerushalayim shal olam hazeh, Yerushalayim shal olam haba. The Yerushalayim of this world is not the same as the Yerushalayim in the world to come. Yerushalayim shal olam hazeh, the Yerushalayim of this world, kal harotza la'alos ola, and he wants to go up to, can go up to that Yerushalayim. Shal olam haba, but the Yerushalayim of olam haba, ein olin ela hamizumonin la. Only those who are invited, so to speak, are able to go up to that Yerushalayim. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabba says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Asidin tzaddikim shenikron al shemo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the future, the tzaddikim will be called by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, this is a pasuk in Yeshayahu, Kol hanikra v'shmi v'lichvodi b'rosav yitzartiv afasisiv. It talks about being called by my name. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmeni, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rav Shmuel bar Nachmeni says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Gimel nikru al shemo shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are 3 that are called by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'yelohen, and they are as follows, Tzadikim, the righteous, Umashiach, and Mashiach, V'Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim. Tzadikim hadiyamar, and Tzadikim, that's what we just said above, that they're going to be called in the future by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mashiach tichsiv, the Mashiach, because it is written, this is a pasuk from Yirmiyahu, V'zeh shemo asher yikro Hashem tzidkeinu. It says that this is his name, which he will be called by, which again refers to the idea that Mashiach is called by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Yerushalayim, Dichsiv Yerushalayim, because it's written in the pasuk in Yecheskel, Saviv Shmona Asar Elef Hashem Ha'ir Miyom Hashem Shama. It says the name of the city, and it uses the phrase Hashem Shama, and the Gemara says, Al Tikrei Shama Ela Shema. Don't read it as Shama, but read it as Shema. That will be the name of the city. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, Atzidin tzadikim sha'omrim lifneihen kadosh. In the future tzadikim, they will be called kadosh. They'll be called holy. Kederech sha'omrim lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the same way that we say in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we call HaKadosh Baruch Hu holy. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, V'haya hanishar b'tzion. There's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. Those that are in Tzion, v'hanosah b'Yerushalayim, those that remain in Yerushalayim, kadosh yamer lo. So it says in the pasuk that they're going to be referred to as kadosh. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabba says that Rabbi Yochanan says, Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'hagbias Yerushalayim gimel parsos lamala. In the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will lift up Yerushalayim 3 parsas upward. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, this is a pasuk in Zechariah, the pasuk says, V'roama v'yashva tachtet, which is literally translated as, and it will be lifted up and inhabited in its place. But the Gemara says, my tachta, what does it mean over here, tachta, in its place? Kit tachta means it's going to be lifted it up like its size. Whatever the size of Yerushalayim is, that's how high it's going to be lifted up. Umimai dahai tachta tzlasa parsi hava. How do we know that that's 3 parsa? How do we know that's the size of Yerushalayim? And the Gemara says, Amar Rabba, Rabba says, Amar Le'ahu Saba, a certain elder said to me, L'didi chazi Yerushalayim kamaisa, I saw the original Yerushalayim, utlasa parsa hava. It was 3 parsa. V'shem HaTomar, maybe you'll say, Yesh tsar lalos, that it's going to be difficult to go up. If it's going to be lifted up, it will be hard to get there. But the Gemara says it will not be difficult. Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, this is a pasuk in Yeshayahu, it says, Mi'ela ka'av tufen, it's going to be like the clouds that go up, v'chayonim ala ruboseim, it's like the doves that fly. It's going to be easy to ascend to Yerushalayim. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rapapa says, Shmami, no, we see from this, Hai Eva Tlasa Parsi Midli, that the clouds, they ascend 3 parsa. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Chanina bar Papa, Rabbi Chanina bar Papa says, Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu lases as Yerushalayim b'mida. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give a fixed measurement for Yerushalayim. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk in Zechariah, it says, Va'omar, and I said, Ano atzaholech, where are you going? Vayomer Eli, he said to me, Lamodes Yerushalayim, to measure Yerushalayim, Liros kamarachva v'kama orcha, to see what is its width, what is its length. Amru Malachi Asharis Lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the Malachi Asharis, they said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shalom, Master of the world, Harbe Krachim Barasa B'Olamecha, there's many cities in your world, Shalumos HaOlam, of the nations of the world, V'lo Sata Midas Orchon Midas Rach, and you didn't give a set measurement, a limitation for their length and width. Yerushalayim Yerushalayim. So when it comes to Yerushalayim, Shashimcha Besocha, that your name is within it, Umikdashech Besocha, and your holy place is within it, V'tzadikim Besocha, and the righteous are within it, Atanosin Bamida, you're going to give a set measurement for that. Miyad, so immediately. The pasuk in Zechariah says, Vayomer Elov, he said to him, Rutz Daber El Hanar Halaz, go speak to this young man, Lamor, to say, Perazos Teshev Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim will be settled without walls, Meirov Adam Ubehema Besocha, from the many people and animals that are within it. And the Gemara continues, Amar Reish Lakish says, Asad HaKadosh Baruch Hu Lahosef Al Yerushalayim, in the future, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will add on to Yerushalayim Elef Tefef Ginos, 1,000 times the gematria of Tefef, that amount of gardens, Elef Kefel Migdolim, 1,000 times the gematria of Kefel, that amount of towers, Elef Litzoi Biranios, 1,000 times the gematria of Litzoi Biranios, which are fortifications, Elef Ushne Shiloh Tutafros, 1,002 times the gematria of Shiloh of Tutafros, which are small houses, V'chol Achas V'achas, and each one, Have Kitzipori B'Shalvasa, will be like Tzipore in its prosperity, meaning each one of these additions will be like the great city of Tzipore when it was in its prosperity. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a Brayso, Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Ani ra'isi Tzipori V'Shalvasa, I saw Tzipore in its prosperity, V'hayu ba mea ushmonim elef shevakim, and it had 180,000 marketplaces, shalmochrei tzike kedera, of people who were selling sauces for meat. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk in Yechezkel says, V'hatzalos tzela el tzela, and the side chambers were one over the other, shalosh ushloshim pa'amim, 3 and 30 times. And the Gemara says, My shalosh ushloshim pa'amim, what does it mean when the pasuk says 3 and 30 times? Amar Reb Levi, Amar Reb Papi, Reb Levi says that Reb Papi says, Mishum Reb Yoshua de Sichni, in the name of Reb Yoshua of Sichni, Im Gimel Yerushalayim hein, if Yerushalayim was 3 times the size, Kol achas v'achas yesh ba shloshim medurin, so every house, every building in Yerushalayim will have 30 levels lamala that will go upward, and Im shloshim Yerushalayim hein, if Yerushalayim is 30 times its size, Kol achas v'achas, so every dwelling, yesh ba shloshim medurin lamala, is going to have 3 levels going up. And the Gemara continues, Itmar, it was stated the following machlokas amoraim, sfina, when it comes to a ship. Rav Amar Kevan Shemashach Kolshu Kana. Rav says as long as you pull it a little bit, that is going to be a kinyan. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says Lo Kana Ad Sheyimshoch Eskula. You're not going to be Kona until you pull the entire thing. It means to say you pull it the entire space of that ship. And the Gemara continues, Lema Ketanoi. Let us say that this is a machlokas tanoim in the following brisa. The brisa says Ketzad b'Mesira. How do you make a kinyan through Mesira, which is giving over? Achaza betalfa besara beukaf she'aleh. If the buyer grabs the animal by its hoof or by its hair or by the saddle that's upon it, or the brisa continues b'shlif she'aleh, if the buyer grabs the load that is upon the animal, or beprumbia shebepia, or the bit that's in its mouth, or bezug shebetzavara, or the bell that's around its neck. In any of those fashions, kana, there's going to be a kinyan. The buyer will make a kinyan on the animal. And the brisa continues, Keitzad b'meshicha. How do you make a kinyan with meshicha, which is pulling? Korei lo v'hiba, if he calls the animal and she comes, o sheikisha b'makal, or he hits it with a stick, v'ratz lefanav, and she runs in front of him. Kevon she'okra yad v'regel kana, as long as she lifts up her hand or her foot, that is going to be a kinyan. Rabbi Acha says, v'amri lo Rav Acha, and some say Rav Acha. Omer says, Achet mole kol masa, the animal has to walk the amount of its full length. And so the Gemara says, Lema Rav Da'amar Katanakama. Let us say that Rav follows the Tanakama, meaning to say Rav, who says that by the boat, if you just do a small Mashicha, that's the same as the Tanakama. As long as the animal moves a little, it's the same kind of kinyan. Ushmuel Da'amar Rabbi Acha, and Shmuel, who says that you have to pull the boat the entire length of the boat, he's going to say the same thing. He's going to follow Rabbi Acha, that the animal has to move its entire length. And the Gemara continues, Amar lach Rav will say to you, Anodi Amri afilu de Rabbi Acha. I can say my opinion even according to Rabbi Acha. Adkan lo kam Rabbi Acha ela bebalei chayim. Rabbi Acha only said what he said when we were talking about animals, that it has to go, it has to walk its entire length. Di'afagav da'akra yad v'regel beduchta kaima, because an animal, even though it picks up its foreleg or its hind leg, it's still in the same place. Aval svina kevan denada b'pursa, but when it comes to a ship, as long as it moves a little, so nada lakula, so the entire thing has moved, so maybe by the ship, it's going to be a kinyan, even if it's a small amount. And the Gemara continues, Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel will say, Anodi Amri afilu katanakama, I can even follow the Tanakama. Adkan lo kamar Tanakama, the Tanakama only said, Ela b'balei chayim, he only said, when we're talking about animals, to kaven to make kara yad v'regel idach l'miakar kaima, because if already one, if the foreleg is moved or the hind leg is moved, so then the other ones are going to follow naturally, so that's why that's a kinyan. Avol svina, but when it comes to a ship, imashach lakula in, it could be that only if you pull the entire thing, it's going to be a kinyan, ilo lo, but if you don't pull the entire thing, it is not going to be a kinyan, and that's why specifically by a ship, Shmuel would say you have to pull the ship, the entire length of the ship. And the Gemara continues, Lema Kahani Tanoi, let us say that it follows the following Machlokas Tanoim, the Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa. Svina Niknas B'Mesechet says that a ship is acquired through pulling. Rabbi Nosson Omer, and Rabbi Nosson says, Svina V'Osios, when it comes to a ship, and letters, Niknos B'Mesechet, those are acquired through pulling. And the Rashbam explains, Lema Rav Shmuel Kahani Tanoi de Lakamon, let us say that Rav and Shmuel is the same Machlokas Tanoim in this Brisa. V'Osios, what are Osios, what are letters? Shtar Chov Shemocher, that refers to a document, let's say it's a document that a creditor has and it gets sold to somebody else. Or the document gets given to somebody else. The idea is that the person who's taking the shtar, now he has acquired the debt as well. He's the one that's able to collect the debt. So that you're going to acquire that shtar through Mashicha, through pulling. When the mocher gives him the document, he's going to acquire it and the debt together with it. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph.